folks. Tonight we sitting down with another OG man, my man Snake, coming from out of Arizona, right, Snake?
Yes, sir.
Alright. We're gonna chop it up with my man Snake tonight, get a little history on Soul Brothers, how he came in, the introduction, the whole 10 years and go from there. So my man Snake, first question, sir, is how you came to join the club, or the introduction to the club, and if you can for us, your year when you came and patched in with the club.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First off, hats off to everybody. Appreciate the opportunity. My man King here with this interview. So I came into the club first off to give the history. Running the streets of South Central LA, born and raised. My homeboy Al Capone came in my circle in our street shit. But he came from Phoenix and always talking about motorcycles and his dad. As Rocky just spoke of WC. WC was the father of Al Capone, who I ran the streets with very hard. Did shit back to back with one another, and so I ended up packing my family up, and we moved to Phoenix in '87. I left South Central LA. We actually went to. This was my first wife. We went to Arizona to visit some friends of hers. And so we liked it. 2 weeks later, we was there to stay. So I ended up catching up with Al Capone and his dad. He took me down to the clubhouse, which was exactly where it sits today, 11th Avenue, Buckeye Road. And so brothers took me under their wings, and I had always wanted to ride motorcycles. Coming up in LA, clubs are plentiful. So always seeing the clubs, and I was just always an outlaw. Had that outlaw mentality, and so end up getting me a bike back in '90, and I presented myself to the club then, but I didn't actually get started with the club prospecting until '91.
I feel you.
And so '91, I came on in prospect Memorial Weekend. And it was just on from there. And so I prospect for about 4 months. Labor Day weekend in East Palo Alto.
Yeah.
My colors was presented to me, and it's been an ongoing thing since. So I've loved it. Never been without my colors, just.
So you was
that part,
you was originally in California.
Yes, born and raised right here in South Central.
I feel you. And when you patched in up in
Phoenix.
In Phoenix side.
Yes.
But got your colors
in East Palo Alto.
East Palo Alto.
Yes.
And back then that's where the Mata chapter used to be.
Right, exactly.
Right? Because
yes.
East Palo Alto is
yes.
where we was born on, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, rest in peace, my man Heavy Man and all the OGs them up there in Northern Cali too, same way.
Yeah, it was a blessing for me to come up under their love and guidance. Our triple OGs, quadruple to some.
Yeah.
They were my OGs, or they are my OGs. So it was a blessing to come up under them. Their rules, regulations, and how the game was from the beginning, as opposed to the new breed mindsets and mentalities and so forth. you know. So, you know, I've always been that. I did many years as road captain. I've participated with prayers, vice prayers, through my years. That was more into the late 90s, early 2000s. But road captain, I spent many of my active years as a road
captain.
Yeah.
I hear that.
And hats off to my boy Rocky, because he is one of my mentors in this motorcycle world.
Yeah.
Especially as road captain, because he is, I title him the high #1 road captain in Arizona.
Yeah.
So, and so I fall right up under him with the skills. It's the skills that make you.
Yeah.
And so I learned from him, and rest in peace, Romeo, one of our LA members.
And that's something too, you know, man. I hope a lot of brothers come to understand that word that you just said right there, man. It's the skills.
Yes.
It's the time, the experience. You know, it ain't
Right.
just tossing on these colors.
Right.
And you think you can work that position.
Right.
You know what I mean, Snake?
Yes.
I hear that,
yeah,
brother.
because
So-
you know when it all boils down to it, people in this motorcycle world, look here, it's not about all the politics. It's not about the titles that you wear, as Rocky spoke earlier. It's the title don't make you. It's what you make yourself as a member
Yeah.
of any organization. I don't care what kind of job it is, whether it's sitting behind a desk, it's somebody's corporation, or in this bike world. You know, you have to, you get in where you fit in. And again, the title don't make you. So if, just for example, someone, you trying to be road captain and you mess up, don't be so headstrong. If a elder comes to you and say, hey man, you shouldn't do that, or even your friends, vice versa, whatever, you know, you shouldn't have did that, or you made a mistake, you know, it's
Yeah.
not the way to go. You know, and you know, we have positions and titles that we abide by, and so back to what I was saying, Rocky. Back to what I was saying is it's you know, road captain. It's all right, Rocky. So, motorcycle club is not about your titles. It's not about prayers and vice prayers. It's not about the round table, the rectangle table that you sit at. It's not about that meeting. It's not about the politics. It's about being on the motherfucking ground. That's what makes a motorcycle club. It's not your politics. It's not one who's trying to be the best and want to overthrow and this and that and la 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 la. Fuck all the politics. It's about being on the ground. And Rocky spoke on it earlier. When you're on the ground, that's where the fun is. Road captain means a lot, and you got to have your shit tight and know what the fuck you doing out there, because everybody's life is in your motherfucking hands. And I tell you, with all that I have, somebody come up and do something wrong, Don't look at them crazy. Don't flip them off. La 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 la, and do all this crazy stuff. You know, people come up on me, and you know, you never know whether you're dealing with somebody, elder person in that vehicle. Their reflexes aren't that good. Their eyesight isn't that good. A lot of people, we don't pay attention to that shit. You know, we just want to go off.
Doing that 90.
Yeah. You know, leave people alone out there in them cars, because a lot of people don't respect you. They don't give a damn about you being on motorcycles, and you ain't the toughest motherfucker in the world.
Especially against them machines.
Exactly.
Alright.
Exactly.
So the name Snake, man.
Well, this is the first time publicly is being spoken on.
I hear that.
Snake, I was on the basketball court when I was 14 years old, and I was the smallest cat on the court. We was half court, and 3-on-3. This particular day, a couple of tall dudes came and played with us. I don't know who they are, where they came from, but we was playing at Shenandoah Elementary School up in what I call Culver City, west side of LA. And so I ran up behind both these guys on two separate occasions, of course. I ran up behind them and I stole the ball from behind.
Yeah.
And we won that game, not particularly because I stole the ball, but we won that game, and I walked off the court, and a guy named Joe Lee White, I have no idea where he is, what's happening with him in his life today, if he's still with us, but Joe Lee White, anybody here know of this person? He named me. He said, "Who's a green-eyed snake?" as we walked off the court. And I was like, man, snake, oh, that sounds tough. And I was a little timid kind of guy back then.
Yeah.
I wasn't no fighter. I wasn't no gangster. Wasn't looking towards, being out here in the streets and doing outlaw shit, you know. So, yeah, that's where the name Snake came from.
And it stuck.
I liked it so much because it was a tough name, and I was a little, weakling back then.
But still doing your shit and holding down yours.
Yeah, so I held on to it. I said, I'm going to keep this name. And it rocked with me till today. A lot of people look at the name Snake and, they instantly, many people think slime ball. I didn't get my name in no
shady,
right, malice way. Just being able to move. That's all.
And too that it all depends on who you are. If you come up, because for us automatically we hear the word snake, we hear in danger. We ain't thinking slime,
Right.
Or somebody who gonna do you sideways. That's what you used to,
right.
And automatically that's what's coming up in your mind. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I hear that, man. OG
Yes,
Snake. And then outside of that, man, Snake, any other club you ever run with outside of Soul Brothers, or it's just always been Soul Brothers on your side?
I got a lot of love for different clubs out there, but Soul Brother is Soul Brother.
I hear that.
So if that speaks for itself, I've never had any desire anywhere else.
Yeah.
I came into this motorcycle world, into Soul Brothers Yard in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about Soul Brother life, or let's say motorcycle life.
Yeah.
Outside of being in the streets of Los Angeles, we gave some motorcycle clubs some hell back in the days, or at least one. I'm not going to speak on the name.
Yeah.
I hear that. But I didn't know. I had no idea the world of motorcycle club. Back then.
Yeah.
And I was into my street shit. So now, as I'm into this, like I say, Soul Brothers Phoenix Yard is the only yard that I've ever presented myself to ever be a part of any kind of club.
Salute, man.
Yeah,
Salute.
yeah. So that was in '91. I patched up, and I spent 20 years enjoying the highways and byways. Retired in 2011. In that time frame, I've been around the country numerous times, to and from Florida, visiting my children. Just had a ball, had a blast hitting up the national roundups. On my way to Atlanta Roundup, I forget what year it is. It was 2004 or 5. But that was my most prestige ride. I did 43 states in 5 weeks. To be accurate, 5 weeks and 2 days.
I hear that.
43 states, yeah. 43 states. So, yeah, I was out there. I was out there so much back and forth to in and out of LA here. It was Pee Wee, who we just laid to rest yesterday, gave me a key to the clubhouse. Rocky has had keys to Chosen Few's clubhouse. You know, it's the love and respect that we give out there, and you know, the love for the highway that different clubs and folks respect us so much for, you know. And so
I hear that, and you know, man, Snake, just from hearing what you were speaking on just now, right? This is a question I try and ask a lot of my OGs and man, because it's something when I came over here into the motorcycle set that I was put on to, right?
yes, sir.
And a lot of the new generation cats kind of say otherwise, right? But my OGs them, right? And this is a question I want to ask you, because I heard you just speaking about it, but not really saying it, right?
Yes, sir.
And that is you saying that though you came from the streets and moved over into motorcycling,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
so the question that I want to ask, that my OG, you know, that my cats and that put me on to it, older cats, my OGs, right? They always told me, man, it was a graduate, I don't want to say like a graduation, but it was a grown man thing, right? To move from her, it was elevating to move from the gang banging, being in the streets, to motorcycling and what we call, as bikers call, the outlaw world, right? So it was a step up. Now, in this newer generation, it has become a little bit watered down, where cats want to say that it's gang banging over the outlaw just because, you know what I mean? It has kind of became mixed up. But I just heard you just speak on it, saying, man,
Yes.
I used to be in the streets,
Yes.
and I moved over into motorcycling, right? And why I say that is because how they have always taught me is that, man, outlaw was more on a grown man status, because you could be in the streets gang banging and just be in your neighborhood, but you can't be doing this motorcycling thing, this outlaw lifestyle, and not have money in your pocket, right? To be able to jump on your motorcycle, keep it up and going,
Right.
be able to hit these states,
That's
get
right.
rooms,
Yes.
buy food, gas, all these different type of stuff,
Yes.
right? And you know, a lot of people kind of think like, oh man, just being in the streets and gang banging and us doing motorcycle and the outlaw world is it, we ain't doing, I don't want to say, I don't even want to use that word to say like criminal stuff, right? But
Right.
it is definitely a step away from being in the streets, from being younger when you were gang banging, right? Is that something you can speak on, man, and tell me the difference between gang banging and being in the streets and then outlaw motorcycling?
Gang banging is some shit that we grew up with. Being, you know, I can go into the history of why we are so against one another, but here it is. We live the ghetto life. We grew up in certain neighborhoods, and you tend to want to be a part of a certain caliber of people, and you're always placed as that part of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Unless you really work hard to distinguish yourself away from that, and not associate yourself. I'm not going to speak on where I come from.
Yeah.
But I was raised in as a 15-year-old kid coming up, being a part of this particular group of people there was no set claims. But when we did, we got wrath from everyone. So we became one of the LA's most hated. And so I never did like, for the most part, what I was doing, because I always knew right from wrong. So fighting brothers because from a different neighborhood, shooting, killing, all that shit, I knew it was wrong. So I needed a way out. And that way out was my trip to Arizona, just on a vacation. That vacation allowed me to, and my ex-wife to spark. Can we close that front door? Rocky, can we close that door? Okay, so, like I said, I needed that out. And we, from the day that I moved out of LA, let me backtrack a little bit. It was marriage and children that played a part of me leaving my neighborhood and trying to leave all that alone. So I say, going into the motorcycle world was a step up and a step away from that game of gangbanging. Yet I had to learn that you cannot play both fields, because it's not a one field. You have two different fields.
Yeah.
So that means there's a separation in between a street, a block, okay? The buttocks. And so you have to leave one field in order to get to the next field. And that's in a lot of aspects in life. So I had to learn how to leave that whole mentality alone, even though I wasn't in the neighborhood anymore. Because I gave Mesa, Arizona the blues. They couldn't understand, and I got to give it up to my boy Too Sweet just as well. They couldn't understand this. So we took that mentality to Mesa, Arizona, and I carried that into my bike world as I carried the mentality, not the aspects of it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but I had to learn how to leave that mentality and go full force. And there has been a couple of different cats, and mainly one. And he was, I saw him intertwining, and I told him, I said, bro, you can't do both. It's just like some of you cats out there running around with founder and president on your titles. You can't do both. You can't have both titles. And so again, bro, I just had to learn and go full force with what I know, and that was that bike world, And I tried to stay on my bike as much as I could. One of my jobs allowed me to maneuver with my motorcycle,
Yeah.
And so every day, running to the stores for groceries, I got bags tied up to my belt loops, no car, that's the way we used to do it, We used to, these guys, my OGs, introduced me to camping, We didn't do no fucking hotel rooms and shit, We slept in the fucking dirt. We slept on the fucking picnic bench. We slept at rest areas when we traveled.
Yeah.
We pitched tents at campsites. Here at the clubhouses, when we visit for annuals back in the days, and if you just traveling, we slept in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Last night I slept in one chair with my feet on another chair and that little bitty stool right in between.
Some real soul brother shit.
Yeah. And so it wasn't about motels, but you know what happened? The motorcycle world here on the West Coast predominantly, we came into this Harley Davidson world because back then there was not a lot of Harley Davidsons. So a lot of us rode Crouch Rockets, we rode Rice Rockets, we was into the Hondas, Cowies, and Suzukis, and so a lot of us